Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Justice, and today I've got something a little different for all of you. See, the thing is, if you pay attention to the speed duel competitive scene and you've looked at the results of, say, recent Winnabox, the main event for the remote duels that was just held recently, you might notice that Cyber Angels are a top tier deck, if not the best deck in the current meta. The thing is, not a lot of people are playing this deck. And that seems weird, right? If it's potentially the best deck, why aren't people playing it? And I think the reason to it is that it has a higher barrier of entry, a higher skill ceiling than a lot of the decks that we're used to seeing in speed duels. It is more combo based, but it's not just one combo that you go for every single time. There are decisions to be made, there's different combos that you can do, and messing them up can actually just take a game that you should have won and make it a loss pretty easily. So this video is going to be basically a combo guide for Cyber Angels, how to play this deck. But the thing is, I myself am not a huge Cyber Angel player, so I don't want you to take my word for all of this. In fact, all of the information that I'm going to present to you today was due to an in-depth conversation that I had with Ninjetti Ursus, the foremost Cyber Angel player in our community. No one has played this deck more than he has. No one has had more success than he has with it. So there is no better source for how to learn to play this deck. So while I will be the one presenting the information, all of this came from him. So huge shout out to Ursus. Thank you so much for contributing to this video. So without any further ado, let's run you through some scenarios so you can learn how to play Cyber Angels. All right, so we're going to get into some examples here. I have taken away the camera so you can focus purely on the gameplay. Before we get into it, I do just want to state this is not going to cover literally every possible scenario that you could ever encounter with the deck. However, we are going to be going over multiple examples, both going first and second, so you can get a good idea of what the deck wants to do, and then you can make the best decisions possible during your own games. So let's get into it. We're going to start with going first. The first example is if you want to go all out turn one. This is going to end on a board of a boosted Edison and Izana. So how do we get there? The first thing we're going to do, and you're going to be seeing this a lot as we go through our examples, is first you're going to use your ritual spell. You are going to tribute your Benten for your Editen. If you're going first, it's probably always going to be in defense position. All right, this is going to activate the effects of both your Benten and your Editen. All right, so now Benten searches from the deck. We're going to add an Editen. And then Editen can search a Machine Angel ritual from our deck to our hand. So you see we've already made a play, and we still somehow have the same number of cards that we started with, which is great. Now we can normal summon our Senju to add Izana to our hand. So let's go ahead and do that. And now that we've done that, we can use our second ritual spell to tribute the Senju and the Editen from our hand to summon Izana, again, usually in defense. The only time you wouldn't do in defense is if you're worried about something like Drillroid. Other than that, they both have more defense than attack, so it's a little bit safer. So now the effect of Editen will activate. We've boosted the Editen on the field. We've boosted the Izana on the field. So this is a 1600 or a 2600 3000 Editen and a 3500 3600 Izana with 2 Machine Angel rituals in the graveyard for protection from destruction. So this is a very difficult board to out unless they have something specific like a Drillroid or a Kaiju, things that are not normally happening. But again, if you are worried about those things, you can put one or both of them in attack position instead. This is the all-out turn one board. Let's go ahead and look at another example of going first if you don't want to commit all of your resources right away. We are going to look at another example here. We're starting with the same opening hand. Now, obviously, this opening hand is very good. Remember, though, that you do have your skill to try to fix your hands a little bit if you don't have exactly this. Again, these are just examples. So if we don't want to use all of our resources right away, we can do what Ursus calls the half combo. Now you're going to start again the same way. You're going to go ahead and tribute your Benten for your Iditen. Let's do that. Again, both of their effects are going to trigger. And you're going to see something similar here. So Benten is going to search for another Iditen. Iditen will search for the Machine Angel Ritual. So now we've done that. We are going to go ahead and summon the Senju, but this time we're going to search for Benten instead of Iditen. This is just going to give us some different options here. Then we can go ahead and tribute Benten or Iditen. So what are we doing now? Again, Iditen will, of course, add Machine Angel Ritual. You can either grab from the deck if you want the extra protection in the grave, or you can choose to grab one back from the grave if you want to keep another ritual in the deck, which you might want to do. All right, so now that we've done that, the effect of Benten is going to kick in, and you have two options here. You can search Izana, which a lot of times is what you're going to want to do, and we'll go ahead and do that here. Occasionally, you might want to search for another Senju, depending on what you're worried about in this game state. So let's go ahead and add that. So now we have 2 Iditens plus a Senju. We have either 1 or 2 Machine Angel Rituals in the grave, depending on how you chose to do it. So on your next turn, you can either, let's say you're able to protect from destruction, right? You can tribute Iditen plus Senju for Izana, or you can even tribute double Iditen for a double boosted Izana 4,500 attack, depending on what the game state calls for. So this gives you plenty of options moving forward. And again, if you search Senju instead of Izana, it actually opens you up to some different options as well. So it's something to consider. So what Ursus calls the half combo. You're not creating as crazy of a board state, but you are setting yourself up for more plays next turn, and you did not commit all of your resources this turn. So this gives you a couple different options for what you might want to consider doing going first. Now here's where things get fun, because what Cyber Angels really want to be doing is going second. So let's look at some examples of what you can do when you are going second. We're going to use the same opening hand as before, except now we're going to add in a 5th card here, call it Cosmic Cyclone. The first thing we're going to look at, and it's not going to be possible every game, but if you have the opportunity, let's see what an OTK might look like here. So we're going to see some of the same things again. We are going to use our Machine Angel Ritual. We are going to tribute our Benten for Iditen. In this case, you don't necessarily need to summon in defense. Let's go ahead and summon in attack position. Again, both their effects are going to activate. And again, as we've seen before, Benten is going to search for Iditen. Iditen is going to grab us a Machine Angel Ritual. So now that we've done that, we can summon our Senju, use its effect to add Izana to the hand. All right, now we've got Izana. So let's go ahead and tribute the Senju and the Izana, or the Iditen rather, from the hand. Send those. Let's special summon the Izana. What Ursus actually says here, you notice we didn't use Cosmic yet. And actually, I should have done this before. He's saying you can often chain Cosmic to the Machine Angel Ritual here. So let's actually wind this back a little bit. Let's put these back in the hand. So when we activate Machine Angel Ritual here, you can, of course, Cosmic straight away before you make any plays. It's always an option. He likes this play sometimes because sometimes you can bait out some back row that isn't as important, and then you can chain here to kind of block some stuff. And maybe you made them waste a floodgate rather than trying to hit it first if they have multiple back row. Sometimes you can bait stuff here. So there's just like sometimes chaining the Cosmic. It's not a requirement, but sometimes it can be giving you some flexibility to respond to back row if they have multiple. Of course, if they only have one, you can just Cosmic first. But this is a way you can do it. So again, we're going to tribute the Senju. We're going to tribute the Iditen. Now we have our boosted Iditen, our boosted Izana. We got rid of the back row. And if they have something in attack position, this is probably just game. Again, if they have something in defense position, that's where this can get a little bit trickier. But if they assign an attack position, you are probably just winning the game right here. There's your typical OTK line. But what if you can't always OTK? It's a good question. And actually, it's a really relevant one to ask because the deck does not OTK as frequently as it used to. Because remember, old Ritual Ceremony was just a straight +1, which gave the deck basically an additional card to work with from the hand. Now we're a little bit more limited because if we have to use our skill, it's not just a +1. So that does change things a little bit. So you're not always going for the OTK. So you want to recognize when it is possible, but also understand that it's not going to happen every single game. So we need some other options going second. So let's take a look at something else. We're going to start with this same hand again. And this is going to be a, say, not necessarily pure OTK, or if you need to do something a little bit differently. Let's say that your opponent is playing on a single back row this turn. So of course we can start with the Cosmic, take care of the back row. That's always helpful. That's well and good. So let's go ahead and again start with our Ritual combo. Again, you've noticed that you're seeing this every time. That's because this really is your bread and butter, tributing Ben 10 for E10, because it just allows you to start developing your board without actually losing any resources and just allowing you to continue your plays here. Now this one is going to be a little bit different. So now our Ben 10 is going to activate from the graveyard. Here we're actually not going to search in Izana this turn. We're going to search in Ida10. So now that we've searched Ida10, we can grab our Machine Angel Ritual from the deck. Again, you can also grab it from the graveyard if that play makes sense to you. So now that we've done that, we're going to summon Senju, and we're still not adding Izana this time. Since we've dealt with their back row, we're going to add an Ida10, or a Ben 10 rather, to the hand. So now that we've done that, we are going to use our Machine Angel Ritual. We're going to tribute the Ida10 in hand for a Ben 10. And now this has given us an interesting board. Both of these are going to be boosted. So we have a 2600 attack Ida10, a 2800 attack Ben 10, plus a 1400 attack Senju. Now you notice there are scenarios in which this is actually an OTK. But even if it's not, this just lets you go a little bit wider on the board, putting 3 monsters in play rather than 2, rather than putting all of your eggs in the Izana basket, so to speak. There's other advantages to this board as well. If, say, you're in a situation where you can't necessarily attack directly, or you don't want a huge monster, like, say, you're facing down an Amazoness Swordswoman. Well, in that case, attacking with Ben 10 can be really helpful, because remember, Ben 10, in addition to searching, also has her burn effect. That if she destroys a monster at battle and sends it to the grave, she's going to deal damage equal to that monster's original defense in the graveyard. Before anyone asks, if she attacks Zoma, you're not dealing any damage because it doesn't have any defense in the graveyard. Anyway, but something like an Amazoness Swordswoman can be relevant. If your opponent, say, has gained a bunch of life points, if they're on something like Volcanic, that burn damage can be relevant, and sometimes going wider on the board, getting that burn damage in can change your calculations. So that's something that you really do want to keep in mind. Or again, if there's just something that's preventing you from attacking directly for some reason, Ben 10's burn damage can actually be quite relevant. So this is just a different line. It gives you a different board. Now, again, as I said during our first example, you're not always going to have a perfect hand. The hands we've gone over are kind of more your ideal scenarios. But because of the skill, you can actually, quote unquote, fix a lot of your bad hands. You know, if you open just Cosmics but no Ritual Spell, or Cosmic and Ritual Spell, but you're missing one of the Cyber Angels that you need, the skill will allow you to fix that hand. Typically speaking, though, remember, your bread and butter combo is tributing Ben 10 for Ida10 on the field to be able to search another fairy and search another ritual spell to keep your combos going, or to set up for your next turn. The other thing to consider, if you've either totally bricked, or you're going first against a deck that you know can't OTK you, which pretty much the only OTK decks we have right now are Cyber Angels and Ojama. Anything else, sometimes your turn 1 play is just to summon your Senju or Sonic Bird, get their effect, and pass, and set up for your second turn. So realize that too, that your turn 1 sometimes isn't some massive combo. Sometimes your turn 1 is normal summon pass. but it's so you can pop off on your second turn. So really do keep that in mind as well. But do be aware of other OTK decks if you are playing the Cyber Angel Mirror, if you're playing against Ojama, or even something like a beatdown deck that could hypothetically, if you're going first, they might be able to just Cyber Dragon plus another monster plus offerings to the Doomed and kill you. So you do want to be aware of those things. Sometimes you do have to use a Machine Angel ritual to protect, like a Senju. Sometimes that's the right play since it just protects any light monster. It doesn't have to be a ritual monster. So sometimes that might be a play that can save your life. So just do think about these things. Again, this is not a comprehensive guide of every single card in the deck. This is more a combo guide. But hopefully these do give you some relevant information that you can use during your games to be able to have some smoother combos, to be able to more fully understand what the deck wants to do, so that you can take the power of Cyber Angels and play the best deck in the format. Yes, I'm saying it. I do believe it is the best deck. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If there's something specific that I don't feel equipped to answer, I will refer to Ursus and try to get an answer from the expert directly for you. Of course, you can always, find him in the Discord as well. You can post on the Cyber Angels channel, and I'm sure he'll be happy to answer any questions you have there as well. Have you played Cyber Angels? Do you like the deck? Do you feel like this has helped you more fully understand what the deck is trying to do? Leave your comments down below. If there are any other decks that you feel like you're just not quite understanding how to play optimally, let us know, and we'll see if we can help you out with those as well. Honestly, between all the members of Judgment Gaming, all of us are probably well-versed. At least one of us is going to be confident in being able to provide content on one deck or another in the format. So definitely let us know if there's another deck that you'd like to see profiled, or if there's anything different you would like to see from a profile in the future, or a guide, I should say, not really a profile. But that will do it for today. I do hope this helped some of you out and helped you understand Cyber Angels, or Combo Girls, as Drake and Terramaster like to call them. So that will do it for me for today. So as always, my friends, be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Good luck in all of your games, and I will see you soon.